And so, in the spirit of reconciliation, in the spirit of coming together for healing and honoring those past wounds, I share with you Miasin, the Cree welcome song, which doesn't just mean welcome, it also means beautiful. Miasin, miasin, hasemina, hasemina, epetakote, wagomagan, hota, homa, kitaskino, miasin, miasin, hasemina, hasemina, epentakote, wagomagan, hota, homa, kitaskino, miasin, miasin, hasemina, hasemina, epetakote, wagomagan, hota.
In order to understand why we have a floating peace lantern ceremony, we have to look at its origins. The ceremony finds its roots in Hiroshima, Japan, the location of the atomic bombing. To honor those lives lost, citizens of Hiroshima launched lanterns with a prayer for peace in the world, with the never-ending wish to abolish nuclear weapons. The bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki created a hell on earth. They emitted intense heat and radiation, turning the surrounding air into intense blasts in a moment. A great fireball was created in the center of the blast. 140,000 people in Hiroshima and 70,000 people in Nagasaki lost their lives. Here is an infographic of the current day nuclear status. There are approximately 13,410 total nuclear warheads in the world today, each with the ability to assassinate thousands in an instant. In order to counteract this reality, the floating lantern ceremony was started. Beginning in 2013, it held the noble purpose to educate the audience about the reality of nuclear weapons and raise awareness of the current situation. The wish for a future without nuclear weapons was finally answered in an international treaty. The Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. However, we recognize that this is only the beginning towards the end, and therefore continue our efforts in the form of a regional floating lantern ceremony that celebrates the dignity of peace.
What's In the spirit of reconciliation, we respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of this land, their traditional knowledge, stories, and connection to this sacred place.
We acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Niitsitapi, Blackfoot nations of Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani, the Beaver people of Tsitna, the Stoney Nakoda of Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. And we walk gently in the footsteps of Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. We honor First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all people who call Mohawkensis and Turtle Island home. Hi and arigato.
On behalf of the citizens of Nagasaki, I would like to extend this message to the Floating Lantern Peace Ceremony 2021. First of all, I would like to express my deep respect and gratitude to the Plowshares Calgary Society for their long-standing efforts to convey the importance of peace to the children and citizens of Calgary. At 11:02 a.m., August 9, 1945, Nagasaki was instantly destroyed by a single atomic bomb. 74,000 precious lives were lost, and further, 75,000 were injured. Based on this tragic experience, the atomic bomb survivors and the citizens of Nagasaki have continued to appeal for the realization of a world without nuclear weapons, so as to make sure that no one else in the world will ever experience the same tragedy brought by the use of nuclear weapons. In January this year, as we mark the 76 years from the atomic bombing, the Treaty on a Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, entered into force. This was the moment when the atomic bomb survivors' long-held wishes came to fruition, and was also a new beginning towards the realization of a world without nuclear weapons. In order to utilize the entry of force of the TPNW to accelerate the movement toward the abolition of nuclear weapons, each and one of us need to change our mindset on the issue of nuclear weapons. We often tend to regret it as an international issue that is irrelevant to us, but we need to consider it as our own matter and take action. There are many ways that we can do for peace, expressing our wishes through songs or by floating peace lanterns, as in this event, are good examples of actions that can be taken in our daily lives. I firmly believe that the culmination of each and every precious action will create a larger movement that will ultimately affect changing the world. I hope that through this event, the seeds of peace will be sown in your hearts and for it to grow, spreading the culture of peace throughout the world. In closing, I extend my best wishes for the successful event and for the good health and continued success of all the guests and participants. August 7, 2021. Taue Kamisa, Mayor of Nagasaki.
Message from the Mayor of Hiroshima. It is an honor and a pleasure to send this message on the occasion of Floating Lantern Peace Ceremony. On August 6, 1945, a single atomic bomb destroyed our city, claiming countless innocent civilian lives. Having experienced the tragedy of the bombing, Hiroshima continuously appeals for a peaceful world without nuclear weapons based on the Hibakusha's conviction. No one else should suffer as we have. However, we see self-centered nationalism in ascendance promulgated by the world leaders, in particular those of nuclear superpowers, and tension heightened by international exclusivity and rivalry. These trends, which seem to trivialize our appeal for peace, are on the rise. The continued intensification of self-centered nationalism as humanity faces its newest threat, COVID-19, serves as case in point. Despite this, the world is currently working together to tackle the novel coronavirus, proves that we are capable of responding to this threat. In much the same way, I believe that the people of the world will be able to overcome the threat posed to humankind by nuclear weapons for coming together under the principles common to us all and remaining steadfast in their opposition. As the number of people who can speak of the horrors of the weapons from experience declines, it becomes increasingly important to pass their earnest wish for peace on to the next generation, established as a shared value in civil society, the idea that nuclear weapons and war should not exist, and make every effort towards realizing lasting world peace. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which went into effect in 1970, and the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which entered into force in January 2021, are both critical to eliminating nuclear weapons. They comprise a framework that we must pass on to future generations, yet their future is opaque. For world leaders to strengthen their determination to ensure this framework functions effectively, it is vital that we create an environment that steers them towards transforming policy. We must continue to raise awareness of peace in civil society to generate a groundswell towards peace and nurture international public opinion for nuclear abolition. In this context, it is truly significant that you have organized this event together with the child diplomats and many young people to share a wish for a peaceful world free of nuclear weapons. I extend to you my deepest respect. Together with more than 8,000 Mayor for Peace member cities from 165 countries and regions, the city of Hiroshima intends to create an environment that encourages world leaders to take steps toward nuclear abolition. I would like to ask all of you to act in solidarity with us as we strive to eliminate the absolute evil that is nuclear weapons and realize lasting world peace. In closing, I extend my best wishes for the great success of this event, as well as the good health and happiness of all in attendance. August 7, 2021, Matsui Kazumi, Mayor, the City of Hiroshima.
A message of Mayor Nenchi. On behalf of the citizens of Calgary and my City Council colleagues, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 9th Annual Floating Lantern Peace Ceremony, sponsored by the Closures, Calgary Society, and the City of Calgary. The Floating Lanterns Peace Ceremony will be held in tandem with events in many of 8,027 cities in the 165 regions worldwide, who have joined Mayors of Peace, a group including myself, who are called for elimination of nuclear weapons. Mayors for Peace become one of the strongest forces that made the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, ICAN, possible. I am proud that on this day, Olympic Plaza will be sparkled with the light of these lanterns, symbolizing a hope for peace. I commend the sponsors of the partners, the United Nations Association of Canada, Calgary Branch, and the Calgary Faith Council, and all organizers and volunteers who have made this event possible. I am also touched that this year's ceremony will be less focused on speeches and performances and more focused on the beauty of the lanterns and the background music, which will provide attendants with the opportunity to pray and grieve the many loved ones who were lost due to COVID-19 pandemic. I hope that the Floating Lanterns Peace Ceremony will continually be a source of inspiration to create a safe and peaceful society in the city of Calgary across the globe. Sincerely, Mayor Nenchi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start my greetings, we announced gathering in this Olympic Plaza, and I've been really impressed by Team Canada in Tokyo 2020, and it was really, really impressive. And tonight, I have a very special feeling to be invited to this occasion, Floating Lantern Peace Ceremony. More than 3/4 of a century have passed since droppings of atom bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A great number of lives were lost in these tragedies, and there are still people suffering adverse effects as a result. Taking this opportunity, I would like to express my condolences and sympathies to all of them. As the only country in the world to have experienced nuclear devastation during the war, Japan, in close cooperation with other countries and other citizens, has a mission to advance the efforts of international community towards a world free of nuclear weapons. We have in Japan a tradition of lighting and floating lanterns to mourn for lives lost. And these floating lantern ceremonies are held every year in Japan and in the world to pray for the soul of the victims and symbolize taking a stand against nuclear weapons and strive for peace. Furthermore, this floating lantern peace ceremony is a tribute to and in support of all the survivors, as well as laying a groundwork for future generations to remember the tragic realities and reaffirm the importance of peace. So I'm really grateful to the Plowshares Calgary Society for organizing this event, and other individuals, other organizations for realizing this event. So thank you very much, and I hope we all together have a wonderful time tonight. Thank you.
And the waves roll on over the water, and the ocean cries. We look to our sons and daughters to slay our lives, as if our tell us why. But as sure as the sunrise, as sure as the sea, as sure as the wind in the trees, we rise again in the faces of our children. We rise again in the voices of our songs. We rise again in the waves upon the ocean, and then we rise again. When the lights go dark and the forces of creation across a stormy sky, we look to
Can I have your name and maybe your age? And how did you get involved with the floating lantern lighting ceremony?
My name is Leila. I am a classically trained opera singer that was asked by my good friend Shinobu to get involved with, my age is 60 years old, and I was asked by Shinobu to be part of the floating peace lantern ceremony, and I was blown away. It was a beautiful experience. I very much enjoyed it.
That is very nice.
Right. So my name is Dai Matsuzaka and I am 17. I first began participating when I was 9, I think, and I wrote a speech and read it at the ceremony, and since then I've been involved. Now I am part of the committee member and help organize the event. So,
So my name is Gen Matsuzaka. I'm 16 years old. I have been involved in this Lantern Festival as the audio technician and reading the letter from Mayor from Hiroshima.
My name is Mai and I am 14 years old, and I got involved by reading the land acknowledgement with Ariel and by selling the lanterns and paper planes.
My name is Yui Matsuzaka and I am 11, and I got involved in the Peace Lantern ceremony by reading the Nagasaki mayor message and by selling lanterns.
My name is Miki. I'm 44 years old. I'm working at tent and selling lantern to people.
Oh, okay.
My name is Catalina and I'm around my 40s.
In her 40s? And how did you get involved in the Peace Lantern lighting ceremony?
I went to the first ceremony 2 years ago. Was my first ceremony, and then when I knew about this new or the event this year, I thought it was a good idea, considering that during this period it's been a lot of isolation, and it's been a lot of time to reflect and think about what's going on in the world in many senses. So I thought it was a good idea to continue with my reflections and to honor the event that was also part of the ceremony.
What does this ceremony mean to you personally?
Personally, it gives me hope that there's going to be a world where people won't be mean and use weapons of mass destruction to hurt others. And it personally makes me feel like there's a hope for our future.
Right. So when we think about peace and how we can achieve, such a lofty goal, I think it's important to understand what we can do as individuals, not as specifically what needs to be done, globally or internationally, or right? Because at the end of the day, we as citizens need to make a step forward. And I think that this ceremony is a way for me to take on the responsibility that is to propagate peace, to take a step towards peace as an individual, as a citizen, and so that's the meaning of this ceremony in my opinion, I guess. Yeah.
It lets me recognize how important it is to care for each other and respect each other. Yeah.
It's a place where I can be educated and I can learn about other people's perspectives and their lives.
Excellent. This ceremony, I think this is a really good ceremony because it teaches me a lot of history of what happened in the past in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and how lots of people die because of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if I'm changing one person's mind, it's infuriating to the other person. And
Yeah.
I'm talking to our friends about this meeting, and they coming to this meeting, and then they change their mind.
Right.
So this is my hope.
Oh, wow.
Well, for me, this ceremony, you see that it's an important event, a public event, to make awareness about things that happened in the history of the world that had affected us as human beings, everybody. For me, it doesn't matter if it was close to where we lived or if we were affected directly, our families or our country itself. For me, it's important to make awareness that if any human being or any population in this planet is affected by war, by health, or by any other even climate phenomenon, it's important to stand up for it and to show empathy and to also get to know about what took place at that time and moment, to learn about it, to learn about the history and reflect about it. So there's many ways that we can stand up for that or take action for that. And I do think that this ceremony is a way to be part of that and honor that event. And also reflecting what we can do going forward as individuals and as group to avoid those situations to happen.
What impact do you hope for the world when they see this film and witness the ceremony?
The impact I hope will be one of people saying, okay, this is not beyond our reach. It's something that can actually happen for the world because the world wants it. And what people want, what people will, if you believe it will happen, it will happen.
Yeah. I think that so often we think passively about peace or about the wellness of others, but I hope that this film and this our ceremony really highlights the fact that it's our own responsibility to take upon the role, which is to create peace in the world, and because peace is created by the trust between people, right? And trust is not fostered unless there's an active active motivation by both ends, right? Right. And so I hope that people that watch this film, are maybe recognize that there's something that they can do, maybe in their families or their communities or, wherever they live, wherever they are, that they too have a part in making a change. So
It's a great.
I want everyone who sees this ceremony to have hope in their hearts and realize how much people are wishing for a peaceful world.
Well, they can realize our mistakes in the past and to not redo the same errors because it's terrifying and really bad.
I hope that the people who saw the ceremony will change how they think about nuclear weapons and say that nuclear weapons aren't allowed in this world.
Yeah, if everyone still thinking about their family is happy, they move into better way, I think. So that I hope everyone's thinking about allowing the people from them. So if one person changing happy situation, maybe it's influence to the other person. So this is impact to the happiness to the other people.
Well, the first I would think is to give visibility to the importance of peace, to give visibility also to historical events that mark the history of humanity as a whole, and to see also what are the actions that we can take individually to make a different world.
What can all of us do to create a weapon-free world?
There's so much we can do. We can stand up and say we won't accept foreign policies that use destructive weapons to show power. We can get rid of all of our nuclear arms. And that is something that is the most dangerous thing. All someone has to do is have a hot head in a position of power, and it can destroy millions of lives, as it has in the history with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think that can change if people have the will for it, and to just push it under the rug is not acceptable.
I think that as citizens, as individuals, I think it's hard to because nuclear weapons is such a broad subject in its reach of problems, right? There's so many things to address to even counter that power, that evil. But I really do believe that it finds its roots in the citizens, like the individual level as well, right? In the discord that is born in society itself and between each other. And so then I also believe that then we can create change through the harmony between one another in individuals and societies and communities and the grassroots level, right, of activities. And I think like ceremonies like this, where we are trying to show people that there are things to be done, that there are actions to be taken by the ordinary citizen, by us who actually do hold the power to so much more than what we actually believe. I think that's where hope lies. That's what I believe.
I believe it's important that everyone realizes how dangerous the nuclear weapons are, and everyone in their daily lives, like every day, think about it and make an action determines that we can do it, so we can change the world and
make it better.
We can treat everybody equally, and we need to have the heart of forgiveness, is what I think.
I think that people should know that nuclear weapons can take lots of lives, and how like that we shouldn't use it again at all in any countries.
Yes, I'm Buddhist, so the most important thing is talking together, and we have to communicate each other, and we don't need like a weapon when we're talking, so we have to just communicate each other. It's going to be more happiness.
Well, I do think the most important work is inside ourselves, and see how as individuals we contribute to division, to anger, frustration, aggression in our everyday life. I am not a politician. I'm not in any position of power in terms of like economy or politics, and I have to be in one of those positions to make a change or to create awareness. But it's easy to point out fingers to the people around us, our family, when we feel frustrated about something or we are angry about something, instead of looking to ourselves and go inside and work about what are the attitudes that we have during the day against others. When do we break the peace in our families? We break the peace in our workplaces. We break peace in our city with our microaggressions. Some of them might have little impact. We think we have little impact in our society, but the truth is I do believe that they have a great impact in the way we behave with other people around us. So the best way to expect peace from the whole as a collective is be an example of peace in our everyday life. and avoid or be more reflective about those attitudes and those actions that are aggressions towards others. Well, we are not compassionate towards other people's situation, where we judge other people, when we attack them with even our thoughts and our words and the way we also express with our bodies. I do think that is very important, and I ask this to every morning, or I try to ask for this every morning, and to use my body, my mind, and my words and my soul to be an instrument of peace, and to be an instrument to build instead of destroying other people. So I do think as an individual that will be my contribution, and is what I work every day. And as a collective, we can also get united with other people to build by example, and to build any other project in our life that is also around that, around creating spaces of peace, compassion, and love, I would say.
Okay, so hi Shinobu, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, it's
Leila.
such a beautiful sunny day. So I'm asking you, how did you start this? How did this get started?
Yeah, the last ceremony, lantern ceremony, we call the floating lantern peace ceremony, was ninth ceremony. We started at 2013. And
wow.
yeah, what is interesting is that the first person who proposed this ceremony was an artist coming from Iran.
From Iran?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she likes Japanese culture. She
wow.
She wore Japanese kimono and set her hair like a Japanese style. And she learned about atomic bomb, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So she wanted to honor those who were impacted by atomic bombs. So then Dr. Arthur Clarke, as well as Mrs. Sally Hawkins, helped to make her proposal as reality. So that was 2013. It started here in this Olympic Plaza in a very small size, very small size.
Wow.
Yeah, but eventually in the ninth ceremony, yeah, we use stage as a stage.
Oh.
Yeah, so this ceremony was for peace, but it started from very small size, then gradually getting larger.
Oh, so it got bigger and bigger and bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. So like when you started, how many people were there and how many are there now?
Oh, well, in the very beginning, I participated as a volunteer.
As a volunteer?
Yeah,
oh,
as an instructor of origami paper crane.
Oh, nice! Paper cranes.
Yes. For some reason, the paper crane tent was the most popular tent.
Yeah, I'd like to learn how to do paper cranes.
Yeah. But anyway.
Are they a symbol of peace too?
Yes, of course.
They're a symbol of peace.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And hope.
And hope. Wonderful.
Yeah. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, so can I explain the significance of this
Sure, I'd love
ceremony?
to hear. I'd love to hear.
So again, this ceremony was to honor those who lost lives in Hiroshima and Nagasaki,
Right.
1945 and onward. And that was our starting point.
Wow.
And what is really great through the years of our progression, what have to be noted is that this year, January 22nd, the treaties on prohibition of nuclear weapons was came in effect. So that was really great progression. So progress, and because of this treaty, now we can consider atomic weapons, actually nuclear weapons, are illegal to have, to use, even to use as threat. So that was a wonderful advancement. And in particular this year, we had this ceremony also to honor those who lost lives during the pandemic last year and this year as well. There are
any others?
Untold tragedies because of COVID-19 as well as overdose and of course suicide. So that was the point we really want to honor.
What about the the indigenous population?
Yes, of course. And the other point we'd like to emphasize was that through our preparation process, we have learned that so many number of indigenous children who were in the residential school system lost their lives.
Sad, isn't it?
Without any names or document. So we really wanted to honor them as well.
Right.
So
that's very honorable too.
And I really wanted to thank you again.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
To perform the song We Raise Again together with Chantal, who is a very popular, very, very famous indigenous singer.
She's amazing
and
too.
You are opera singer and Chantal is indigenous singer. And both of you perform jointly Canadian song We Raise Again.
We Rise Again. It's a wonderful, wonderful
two
song.
Totally different culture, but unified and gave us message of hope. And standing
Songs
up
do
again.
that. Songs do that.
That's right. So that was very momentum, occasion.
It was my pleasure, and I think the venue and the way you had set this up, it was very healing. I know I personally felt very at peace at the end of the ceremony, and I feel that there was so much to be learned and so much more to learn. And thank you for doing that, Shinobu.
Thank you so much for your support.
My pleasure.
Heartfelt support.
Yes, thank you.
So I personally, may I explain my
Sure.
personal?
We would love to hear that.
So to me, who came from Japan in East Asia, and the culture and philosophy of East Asian culture sees the enlightened nature existing in every individual, single individual. So those enlightened nature generate wisdom and courage and compassion. So these qualities are the force that bring forth the humanity, peace, without violent method, violent means. So we really trust in humanity who possess equally possess the enlightened nature that generate wisdom, courage, and compassion. And to me personally, this ceremony will be the occasion where so many people, including participants, volunteers, and of course performers, those qualities. So when talking about peace, I really think that culture and education are essential.
Yeah.
Yeah, peace, culture, and education. That is what we really want to bring forth in this occasion, this ceremony.
All people are a single nation.